Right, I think we are live. So, hi and welcome to Sea Talk. Hopefully, this will be kicking in on Facebook. So, if we've got anybody who will be joining us or asking any questions, waving, feel free to comment below, and also feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'm very excited to be joined today by Pete Cheema, CEO of the SGF. Just as we allow people to kind of join us live, could you please give a bit of background for perhaps any brands, new brands or suppliers who you're not aware of, either yourself or the SGF?
Sure. So I'm Pete Cheema, Chief Executive of the Scottish Grocers Federation. I've been in position since 2015, but I've been on the board since 1999. So I've been sitting on the board for a long, long time. I was president of the organisation from 2006 to 2008, and then I was invited to take over John Drummond's appointed position by Abdul at that time. To which I had said I'll come in and sort the problems out for a year. Here I am, nearly 6 years later, still here.
Yeah,
So
well, we interviewed Abdul last week, as you know, and he had some incredibly nice things to say.
Abdul's a great guy. Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's brought so much to the federation and brought many changes in, and thankfully we're better because of it. And not only a great friend, great retailer, and a great business person as well to boot.
Yeah, absolutely, and some fantastic news for him that came through with the new year. So, talking of great news, could you perhaps give us a little bit of background as to what your breaking news story was this week?
Well, it all started off really in 2015 when John and I, that's Dr. John Lee, who's head of public policy, policy and public affairs for the SGF. He and I had a conversation about looking at introducing a bill very similar to the bill that the NHS have, the Emergency Workers Bill. So we decided that we'd go ahead and actually put that onto a manifesto along 6 other ones. So we had 7 in total. So we introduced that at the hustings on the 14th of April in 2016. And interestingly, 2 of the people there that day, Murdo Fraser and John Swinney, actually stood against them in an election in 2011 in North Perthshire. So I knew them quite well anyway from my previous political shenanigans, let's say. And then there was a new kid on the block called Daniel Johnson, who was vying to stand for post in Edinburgh. And we really hijacked all of the people in attendance, and they all had agreed either to not to go against the private members bill if we introduced, but also support it. But Daniel Johnson went a step further, and he said if he was elected, he would actually take the bill on. And true to his word, he did exactly that. So we initially had our legal team produce an outline bill to show that legislation like this was workable, and show what the scope could be, and then help really to develop it into a public consultation, mobilized our retail members, and we eventually were in a position to draft the bill to be proposed, and gave evidence at the committee, and during the process of the bill being scrutinized, or the draft bill being scrutinized. And again, our evidence was actually mentioned several times last week, so it's been very, very impactful. And the bill went through stage 3 last week, which means now it's going to go to Royal Assent. So in the coming weeks, it will become an act of the Scottish Parliament. So we're absolutely delighted that the process that we initially started off and talked about in 2015, and Daniel promised in April 2016 has gone all the way. And I think we're very, very proud of the fact that I don't think there's many federations or associations that have actually managed to do that. So we're absolutely delighted.
Yeah, and same here, and huge news and congratulations, and absolutely thrilled. But there's so much that you're working on at the moment. Could you perhaps pull out some of the highlights?
Yeah, we're working on so many projects. So we've just managed to get some more funding from the Scottish Government, and we're doing a pilot program on the SGF Go Local program. And we've recently taken on Jamie Buchanan. I'm delighted that he's in position. He's got 32 years of retail experience, so he's a program director for that, as well as our new SGF membership manager. So he's wearing a couple of hats, but he's more than capable. So if the pilot project goes ahead, we've got money sidelined from the government for a further 2 years. But the interesting thing has been that we've had money from the government before for our Food to Go program. And the interesting thing is that with the Go Local program and the Food to Go program, it's not a great deal of money, but it's £650,000 that we've secured in the last 3 or 4 years. And I was actually working out some figures before I came on the program with you, Kate, and the investment of £650,000 has meant that for the 145 stores that are involved, they've actually invested nearly £2.9 million, which is huge.
Yeah.
But for the multiplier effect of that is that for every pound that is invested in their store and in the local economy, there's a return from somewhere between £5 to £10. So if we take the middle ground, that they on average there's a return on investment of say £7.50, actually has meant that the investment of £650,000 from the government has nearly seen a return of about £22 million into the Scottish local economy, which from 145 stores is quite phenomenal when you start to think about that. So that's been a huge success.
That's again absolutely awesome. So we just had a comment in here from Paul. He said, "Afternoon, Pete Cheema. Wanted to send you his best. He's busy in his store today."
Yeah, I don't know whether Paul's told you, but he and I are from the same village from India. So we hadn't met until about I'd say about 7 or 8 years ago. So it's been quite interesting.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, he has. I think you told me first, and then Paul, when I said that we were interviewing you, he also said the same, which is amazing. So you're back in store, I understand. Could you tell me a little bit more about your plans of what you're up to in the store, if you're allowed?
To be honest, it's my son's baby. He qualified as an accountant, and I tried to stop him for a couple of years from coming into retail, because by that time I had actually leased out all my stores, and there was no real appetite, certainly for me, to go back into retail. But he worked for CJ Langs and then Vipco, and latterly I just gave up to the fact that he was adamant that he wanted to buy a store. So he's in store. He's doing very, very well. He took over a store that I used to own at one time, and actually bought from the co-op and sold to McCall's. So we've now bought it back from McCall's and done a huge refit. And he's doing very, very well. He's 5.5 months in. But it takes a long time to build a store and to do well. But he's got quite a few niche products in there, especially selling high-end spirits, and he's been very, very successful. In fact, I was actually in the local paper and also the Scotsman this week for selling quite a number of whiskies at high end, about £1,600 a go, and so forth. So there's a huge market out there even for convenience stores.
Yeah, I've seen that. I was going to say, I do share how much these whiskies have been going for.
Yeah.
I dare say there might be a few of those being drunk this evening. So, but yeah, we actually spoke to Anand. He was our very first video interview that we did. So wow, 5.5 months ago. That's crazy. But yeah, I remember seeing the photos coming through and just mind blowing, like how awesome that store looks.
Yeah, it's a bit of a concept store that we did with CJ Lang's, and it's worked quite well for him. But to be honest, I don't really visit the store that much. I've just left it for him to run. I don't want him complaining about the fact that the owner is forever interfering and telling him what to do. So I'll try to refrain from that and let him get on with it.
Oh, fantastic. Right. I did ask for people who are watching. We've got 15 people watching at the moment. We've got Kath Mills, Jim Graham watching from Midlothian. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to let us know who you are and where you are watching from. And of course, do let us know if you have any comments or questions for Pete whilst we are talking live. So, I don't have to go over the fact over the last year it's been challenging, but I'd just love to know what positive things have you got that you're working on, or things that you're looking forward to this year?
There's quite a number of things. We want to further develop the SGF Healthy Living Program, which we've been running since 2004. And there's going to be some video recipes being done with some celebrity chef. So there's all of that going on. The Go Local program piloting, as I've mentioned. We're running a crime campaign along with Crime Stoppers on the back of this legislation, and really going to be working very, very hard on that. For the past few years, we've been delivering a lot of the government legislation and making the guides on their behalf. So if you remember the Natasha's Law, which has just been passed as well, and comes to fruition on the I think mid-June of this year. So we're doing the food labeling guide and creating a microsite on our website. We've been doing a number of projects with different types of companies, introducing them into convenience, making sure that these companies are retail ready, especially local produce and local companies. And also we've been working very, very hard with our own company called PGMA, which delivers to stores in the Highlands and Islands that find it very difficult to get products. So we're working very, very hard with them, and also with collaborations with different companies, like the Scotland Town Partnership. And in fact, Abdul and another key store retailer was on television running for about 6 weeks just before Christmas, encouraging people to stay local, stay in the area and shop local. And also we continue to do a lot of work with SRC, ACS, and we've got the crime seminar coming up in June in conjunction with Retailers Against Crime, with the support of the co-op. So we've got so much going on. It's incredible. But obviously then there's legislation, the deposit return scheme, which will become active in July 2022. So we've got all of that to look forward to as well. So it's never a dull day at the Federation, that's for sure.
No. We've had another comment come in. So Michael Wallace, your son's online presence must be applauded. He is doing a great job.
Thank you.
That's a nice comment. Thank you very much. Yeah, so you mentioned the healthier in-store activation. I'm quite curious about that because I've seen some amazing photos, and of course, with it being January, I think you know, a lot of the goodness has gone out the window for a lot of people. But actually, this is not just a January thing. This is the POS that I've seen in different stores. This is clearly this is all year round focus. and of course you're doing things up in Scotland way ahead of things that I've seen in the UK. I mean, how is that working? I don't have any photos to bring up on screen and show anyone. I wasn't actually planning to ask about this, but yeah, please do let me know how that's going.
Yeah, it's going well. The support from the government is very, very important to us, because we couldn't do a lot of this work without their help. But the two program directors we've got on, with Catherine Neal working alongside the Healthy Living program, and now with Jamie working at the Go Local program, I think it will go from strength to strength. But the interesting thing is, with the Go Local program, we're working with Scotland Food and Drink, that federation, sorry, and working with them to marry up local producers, and slightly on a healthier tint, and then linking them in with retailers. And I think that's going to be the real important work, especially for the long term. I think one of the lessons of COVID-19 was that, when product wasn't available, a lot of retailers had to switch to local produce. And I think that was important. So produce that originally may have been for the hospitality sector, or for the catering, pubs and clubs, they couldn't take any longer. So these producers had to very quickly make themselves retail ready and switch that produce to convenience and other retail, to make sure that product didn't go to waste. And that was a big learning curve. The fact that these producers were able to switch the product is so important. But there's obviously challenges still, Kate. Town centre located stores that are considered to be, to remain open, and that some of them are really suffering because there's no residential people there, and because all the offices and other businesses are closed around them, they're not doing the business at all. So we're fighting very, very hard to make sure that we can get them money to really survive for the long term. So although convenience is doing very, very well, and I'm sure that that we've captured about 30% of the grocery market, there are still challenges out there. And the challenges are in particular are in the town centre located stores.
And talking about those sort of challenging areas, challenging times for those stores. Just a reminder, I'll drop a link on here a little bit later. If the Grocery Aid telephone line is available 24 hours, if you ever need somebody to talk to, and there are currently funds available to potentially apply for. So it's definitely worth logging onto the website and checking that out. I'll drop a link in the comments afterwards. Sorry?
If I may add also that, along with Grocery Aid, Retail Trust and our own SGF Benevolent Fund is there as well. So
Fantastic.
There's a lot of avenues that are available, and the Grocery Aid and also Retail Trust are doing a lot of work around the well-being aspects as well. So please do, if anybody is suffering out there, please do get in touch.
So we've had a comment in here. Keep up the good work on the new crime legislation against shop workers. The text gets so small. I'm sorry, I have to look down here. We've also had a question come in. So Michael Wallace, how hard during this time of COVID? How hard are you finding it to work with NISA and CJ Lang, etc.?
To be honest, it's been very easy. They both sit on our board, and that makes it even easier. So we can just pick up the phone to them. I think there's been supply problems right at the beginning of the pandemic. I think that's all watered down now. I think there's other supply routes that have been available, and that's where I'm saying that local producers have been so important. And retailers really need to get switched on and use them.
Great. We are running out of time, but we have had one last question, which is, are you pushing for vacations for key workers?
So are we pushing for
Vacations for key workers.
vacations or vaccines? Is it vaccines or?
I don't know. It says vacations. I don't know if that's to do with perhaps if they are working parents. I don't know.
I'm not really sure, but we are
Sorry,
pushing.
Chris Watson. if you're still online, Chris Watson, if you could give us a little bit more on that question, that'd be great. But whilst we wait for that potentially to come back in, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to who's been particularly supportive over the last I guess almost a year now? Is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to, whether that be brands, retailers, suppliers?
Goodness, there's been so many. I mean, a lot of companies have put money into into the benevolent fund. Looking out for COVID-19. People like Camelot, Tunnix, Bobby's, Hancock's. I'm really always scared to, just in case if I forget anybody. So if I have forgotten someone, please excuse me. But I think our trade has done phenomenally well. They've come up to the plate, and that means absolutely everybody. From just not just the suppliers, not just the people that actually own the businesses, but also the workers. The colleagues who have really come in day out and supported everybody. I think it's been absolutely phenomenal.
So we've had some clarity on that question. So it was vaccination. So are you pushing for vaccinations for key workers?
We've written to the government on a couple of occasions, and we still haven't received a reply, which is really sad. But we'll continue to push the point.
Fantastic. Well, we are out of time, and thank you so much for joining us live today. Any mates rates on premium whiskey, says David Bateman.
Always, David, always. Yeah.
Speaking of whiskey, just wanted to close out, say happy Burns Day and happy Burns Night, I guess. So
Absolutely.
I started off the day with a bit of Scottish salmon. That's my healthy celebration today. I hope we'll be able to catch up with you again in due course. Thank you so much for doing this live, and thank you to everybody who's asked questions and joined us, liked this page. Feel free to share this afterwards as well with anybody who you think this video might be useful to. So thanks again, and have a great day.
Thanks, Kate. Thank you.